Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back yet to another video. This is Ali After, your guide and mentor. Today, I want to talk about something very important, and this is the topic of debt consolidation and/or debt settlement. The reason I'm talking about this is because I've seen enough incidents where customers approach me or individuals who are looking through my channel have approached me on a personal level, asking me about whether it's the right decision to go with a debt settlement company or whether they're making the right choice by accepting a debt settlement agreement with a third-party company that's essentially going to help you settle debts with your original creditors. The reason I want to talk about this also is because there is a lot of misconception with debt settlement and debt negotiation for you. And one of those misconceptions is that the debt settlement process is actually going to help you. Your credit will be okay. Nothing bad is going to happen. And you're going to basically get the benefit of not worrying about paying your creditors. And the issue there is that that's actually the biggest misconception when it comes to debt settlement and debt arbitrage. The reason I say that is because the companies that you're paying, right? The process, the way it works is the companies that you're hiring for the debt settlement process, or let's assume that you're doing debt settlement in the first place, or consolidation for that matter, the company that you're hiring is going to tell you to essentially, take a break from paying your creditors, right? They're going to tell you, hey, don't worry about paying your creditors. You should be okay. You just basically tell us what you want to do, and we'll try to negotiate for you. And you just, for a couple of months, stop paying your creditors altogether. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make. And the reason I say that is because, technically speaking, when you're dealing with a debt settlement company, when you're actually working with them and you're trying to get your credit fixed, what you want to do is you want to put yourself in a position where you can actually not default on your creditors, right? The reason why it's because the debt settlement company is going to encourage you to stop paying, which means that your creditors are going to ask you and going to position your credit in a negative way, in a negative status. And that's definitely not something that you want to get done, right? So if you're in a negative status, what does that mean? It means that you're not being able to, benefit from the positive credit that you had. If it goes into a negative status, it's going to get eventually charged off, and then that card is or the account is basically going to be handed off to a collection agency. And that's also going to be another problem, right? So there's a whole lot of issues that we can see with debt settlement. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, the benefit is I don't have to pay. And the reality is you can already do that kind of stuff and negotiate with your creditors internally with some of their departments that they have, right? You can tell them that, look, I can't afford my payments, and they'll give you a structure to work with. A lot of these debt settlement companies, what they do is they force you to go into a charged-off status, basically forcing the creditors to negotiate with those third-party companies. But what's happening is the records of that negotiation, during that process where you're not paying them for a few months, what's going to happen is you're going to have negative credit being recorded on the credit bureaus. What's going to happen part of that is that with the new FICO 10 and the FICO 10T models, that's definitely not going to help you. That's going to hurt you more than it's going to do you good. So the decision that you make to follow some of these debt settlement companies or the advice that they're giving you is pretty much harmful to you. Right? It's very evident that it's going to be harmful to you. And the reason, like I said, is because you don't necessarily have, the resources to essentially get back after those 3 months of missed payments to tell them to put that off your credit reports. And the worst case yet is actually positioning you to get into a situation where the creditors will be obliged to close the accounts with you because they failed to collect from you, right? They have heard no communication from you in the 3 months. And even if they were to hear communication from you, and then you're now telling them that I'm involved with a third party that's going to handle my dealings with you, there's a less level of confidence that's there for the creditor's perspective to trust you again, right? And what's going to happen is obviously when it goes into a charged-off status, that's obviously bad. We know that, right? But more than what's that is that now your ability to get any type of reasonable credit in the future is also crippled, because now you're going to have multiple amount of credit card companies or revolving credit accounts that are now set to charge off with multiple late payments across all three bureaus with multiple creditors. That just doesn't look good also, whatsoever. So my advice to you guys is before you start to think about using a debt consolidation or settlement company and you're asking them to help you negotiate some debt or that you can't afford your payments, do some research on the specific strategy that they're asking you to deploy. A lot of these debt settlement companies or debt consolidation companies are going to ask you to sign a power of attorney over to them. This power of attorney gives them the flexibility to deal with your creditors directly, which in turn means that you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what kind of conversations they're having. And some of these conversations might potentially be hurting you more than doing you good. And that's something that you absolutely need to be aware of. You see what I'm saying? So that's just one of those things that no matter what you do, You won't know what's going on behind the scenes. So that's one of the biggest issues that I personally have with referring customers to debt settlement and or debt negotiation companies and the consolidation companies. That's just so many different issues there already, as we can see. The other thing that you want to be aware of is, you need to know what kind of questions to ask them. Any type of debt consolidation company and or settlement company is telling you, don't pay the creditors for 3 months. Wait until, we put ourselves in a situation where we can negotiate. You have to think about how it's going to affect your personal credit. Now, I'm not saying this because, you want to be a good person with your personal credit, or you just want to suck up and pay your credit card bills. I'm saying this because you never know at what point in your life you'll need credit again, how soon you'll need credit again. That's one of the most important things we need to understand. You can get the same outcomes, if not better, dealing directly with the creditors. And actually, the Ultimate Personal Credit Mastery 3.0, the update that I'm doing, is going to give you an infrastructure that you can work with your creditors directly to consolidate debt in-house and close the account out and pay them down. There are so many different tools there. But outside of that, if you look at the debt consolidation companies, settlement companies, that they're telling you not to pay your bills for a few months, and they say, don't worry about your personal credit and we'll deal with them and let us handle the negotiating, it's actually hurting you, man. Like, honestly, it's one of the most painful processes that you can hurt or go through when it comes to your personal credit. It's such a dent in your personal credit. It's going to last for so long. It's going to be almost impossible to remove. On top of that, the confidence in your creditors in the future to give you any type of reasonable credit, let alone if they even help you open an account with them, is going to be extremely difficult. So why go through all that process just to save a couple of $100s a month, in which you can do by yourself, just simply by calling the creditors and following a guideline and a system, or a blueprint for that matter, on getting that same outcome, if not better. The problem with debt consolidation or third-party companies is the minute you start to involve them in the process, every single step from there on out is going to be painful, right? Now, here's another thing that you want to keep in mind. There's a lot of debt consolidation companies out there that, they say, hey, look, the creditor has accepted a small amount. We're going to start paying them. Here's how much you have to pay us. The minute you stop to pay the creditors, you're actually paying that debt consolidation company month to month. They're collecting the bill from you. And as they're collecting these amounts from you, what's happening is they're actually making gravy, right? So let's assume that they negotiated with that creditor 10 cents on the dollar, and you agreed with the debt consolidation company that you're going to pay 60 cents on the dollar. The extra 50 cents is pure gravy, and you're liable to that debt consolidation company on paying month to month. On top of that, what happens is a lot of these debt consolidation and or settlement companies add their own interest rates, and sometimes they're exorbitant interest rates. They're very expensive. But we don't see that at the beginning because we're so caught up on trying to negotiate the debt. The feel for that negotiation, right? The feel for that dopamine of negotiating puts you in a position to make a irrational decision at the moment of, because it just looks so great and it's just so hyped up that you make the choice to go with them. And the reality is you're enriching another company by hurting your credit on top of that. That all this you could have done internally with the creditors directly. So I want you to take that to the bank and really think about the structures that I've discussed here. And when you're looking at a negotiating company or a debt consolidation expert, or somebody who's looking to help you negotiate your debt with your creditors, ask them these 3 important questions. Number 1, will I have to stop paying my creditors directly? If they say, yeah, don't worry, that's temporary. First and foremost, you always have to worry because payment records are being logged with the credit bureau, especially for the FICO 10T, which is trends, which is going to inhibit the ability for you to get even a lot more credit down the road to bring you to a reasonable level in your finance and life. So when they say don't worry, you start worrying, because that's just the first red flag to stop paying the creditors. Number 2, what will I know about the communication between you and the creditor? And if they say, well, no, nothing, you have to give us power of attorney, that doesn't necessarily work. If it's a mediation company that steps in between and helps you basically try to negotiate a better term with a creditor, that's a different story, because you don't know how to do it. But when they say stop paying the creditors and pay us instead, that's a red flag. And the third and final question is, what's the impact on my credit for that? And you guys already know the answer to that. But the reason why you want to ask them that is because you want to feel how they lie through their teeth when they tell you there's nothing wrong with it, your credit is going to be fine, or there's going to be any type of minimal impact. Payment history, my friends, is 35% of your credit score. It's the biggest factor of your credit score. And that's what's being dented month in, month out as you're working with a debt consolidation company, and it's eating away any type of reasonable financing in the future. So think about that before you make a decision to go with a debt settlement company or a consolidation company. You're better off, honestly speaking, and I'm not trying to plug my own course or anything like that, you're better off working internally with the creditors, Go through the Ultimate Personal Credit Mastery. Learn the system in and out. But it's not just about fixing your personal credit. It's about working with your creditors to get the best type of structure based on your financial commitment and situation to be able to fix that debt that you got. Okay, so with that said, I hope you guys took this message to heart and you understood the importance of staying away from debt consolidation, rent or settlement companies, the dangers of that, and how they lie, and what are some of the deceitful practices or tactics that you have to be careful with when it comes to choosing a company of that nature. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to destroy that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe, turn the notifications on to all, so every time there's videos like these, you guys will be the first to know. If you have any specific question in reference to that consolidation, go ahead and ask me below the video so that we can have a discussion. And with that said and done, I'd like to see you guys on the next one. This is definitely your guide and mentor, Early to After. Bye for now.